This episode is sponsored by our friends at BVI Yacht Sales in Tortola. With decades of experience, BVI Yacht Sales is dedicated to guiding you through every step of buying or selling your yacht in the Caribbean, ensuring top-notch service. I first met Managing Director Brian Duff way back in the day in Annapolis. Brian is himself an accomplished sailor and actually owned the rig shop where I worked for a time in the mid-2000s. Brian and his team can help list your boat for sale or help you find your dream boat, whether or not they're actually listing it. And don't let the name fool you. They've got an office in Annapolis too. We joke about broker BS on the podcast, but you can trust our friends at BVI Yacht Sales. Check out their listings and get in touch at bviyachtsales.com, just like it sounds, and tell them 59 North sent you. That's bviyachtsales.com.
Ahoy shipmates, my name is August Sandberg and this is the Quarterdeck Sailing Podcast. Late publishing this week, thank you for your patience. I've been very busy getting Isbjørn ready for her first trip of the season. She is off now sailing with skipper Nacho and first mate David along the Norwegian coast, and they are having a blast. You can go to 59-north.com/track to follow them and Falken, who is on her way across the Pacific Ocean. We have received more boat listings from our boat shopping members on the Quarterdeck, and in this episode, Andy, Mia, and myself will be taking a look at one of those, which is a Freedom 486. If you want to see the video version of this and see the screen share and the photos we are discussing, sign up with us on quarterdeck.59-north.com. As a member, you can also provide your own listings for us to dissect and join the discussion. Please enjoy this episode and hold fast. All right, everybody, welcome back to another boat shopping episode where we pick apart listings provided by our members on the Quarterdeck and tell you what we think about the boat generally and specifically. And today we are also joined by Mia.
Ooh, hello.
Yay, it's so cool to see you, Mia. Thanks for joining.
Well, thanks for having me.
Very cool. And we are going to jump right in today with a one that we got a couple of weeks ago, which is a feeling. So, Andy, you wanna take it away?
How are you feeling about this feeling today, August?
I am feeling fantastic. I will say it's a little weird name for a boat.
Well, it's
Feeling.
French. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. As it is kind of a it's it's a noun, but it's also a verb, right? Which is the part that kind of gives me pause. But otherwise, I'm feeling great.
So this is interesting. Part of the reason I love doing this is like people send us these listings. I think this one came from Ryan, and I don't think I would have ever come across this boat. Like I didn't know anything about this until doing a little bit of research this morning, and it's pretty neat to find boats that you're like, oh, this is actually really interesting, and I'm very excited to go through this listing. So I've never heard of a Feeling before, although incidentally, I think another Quarterdeck member had posted a while back that they have a different model of a Feeling. This is going to sound super weird when we do this. So, but I've not heard of this before. I've not heard of the designer. I don't really know anything about this other than looking at the listing. So I think this is going to be a fun exercise for us because we're kind of applying this template that we use for the show to look at the listing because we're kind of seeing it for the first time as well. So I'm excited for this. I did a little research. I have my, Mia, if you can hold the microphone for me so I can talk into it. I've got this very heavy book here called the Encyclopedia of Yacht Designers. And it's about, let's see, it's like a good 4 inches thick and about 10 pounds. And I actually, believe it or not, looked up the designer and he is in here. A nice Frenchman born in 1952, Gilles Vaton. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Mia, do you know how to say that name in French?
No.
Is that Gilles? Gilles Vaton?
I would say Gilles.
Gilles Vaton. Oh. But
great.
anyway, here we go. I'm just going to read from my Encyclopedia of Yacht Designers because I always like to know, as we mentioned last week, I like to know who the designer is and does the designer have pedigree. So, the sailing yacht designs of Gilles Vautrin find their elegance in the unique aesthetic concepts of their creator. The distinction of his designs is not simply the result of a group of features, such as the overhangs and the sheer. Rather, he creates a unified whole that in its overall character is easily identified as a Vautrin. Even some well-known super yachts drawn by other designers have been inspired by his style so much that one might think they are Vautrin's work. And then this goes on. This is quite interesting. After high school, he began an apprenticeship at the Rouillard Research Unit in Nantes, France, which had designed the structure of Eric Taberley's trimaran Penduic. So that name I've heard before. Taberley is probably up there with Moitessier as famous French sailors.
Yeah.
And during this period, he was involved in the development of a revolutionary one-tonner yacht drawn by Rouillard, a one-tonner fitted with a fork keel like those that would be seen in San Diego in 1992 on some America's Cup class yachts. So that's kind of cool. It's way ahead of its time there. And then let's see here. It's Vuitton spent a year in England at Illingworth and Primrose, and then met Michel Briand, a La Rochelle yachtsman who asked him to sail aboard Kreiter for the 1973-74 Whitbread. Pretty cool. On his return, seduced by Penduic, I guess that's 6, he joined André Maurice's office in Marseille. Okay, and then with this goes on. This is cool. I didn't know about the Whitbread connection here. Vuitton's 1981 Maxi Charles Heidsick III, which won second place in the 1981-82 Whitbread, was a good measure of his success. He still practices in Cannes, France.
Yeah.
So there you go. So apparently, I think that's an interesting thing about like the French have such a huge sailing culture, and yet we non-French don't have that much connection to it.
I think you would say the same thing. Like, there's a lot of Swedish yacht designers you probably wouldn't know if you wouldn't be in Sweden.
That's true.
So I think there's a lot of like famous people from different parts that if you haven't been immersed in that culture, you probably haven't heard.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, that is probably right.
I mean, I'm a sucker for the Whitbread stuff. I've got, it's on the floor right now, but I've got a couple Whitbread photos to hang in my office here. So when I read that, I'm just like, oh yeah, tell me more. This is great.
I mean, you got to be a good boat designer to design boats for the Whitbread, I would say. Like, that is like the ultimate test of any design.
So I would agree with that, and I would say that I always talk about pedigree, and maybe I'd never heard of this guy, Gilles Vautrin, but I would say he's got some pedigree here. So right off the bat, that ticks like one of my boxes. The boat has a pedigreed designer. Great. Okay, we're on our way here. So Mia, you're new to the format here. We basically do an intro to the boat.
You haven't actually said what boat it is.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, thank you. It's a Feeling 486. August, maybe you want to pull it up on the screen here, the listing.
Oh yes, let me do that.
It's a Feeling 486, 1997. This is listed, to full disclosure, this is listed by our friends at BVI Yacht Sales, who are a new sponsor of 59 North this year, and you'll hear more about them later. But this is a 48-foot Feeling 486 built in 1997. And Mia, the first category that we go through here is design DNA. So what do the specs of the boat tell us? Basically, what is the boat about? So I've got my sailboat data up here, August. There you go.
Here we go.
Site we love to research. Right off the bat, let's look at the numbers. Mia, why don't you read us some of these numbers? I'll just do it. It's going to be easier. We've got an LOA of 47.5 feet. We've got a length of the waterline of 35 feet. That's long overhangs for a boat designed in 1997. That's actually surprising.
Yeah.
Sail area of 961 square feet. It's a reminder that we're going to get into that when we get to the sail area to displacement on how these numbers work. 14.5 foot beam, 22,000 pound displacement. That's quite light for a 48-foot boat. What is Isbjorn's displacement, August?
17,000 kilograms.
And this is
Yeah.
10,000 kilos.
That's
So in
a
pounds, that's
big difference.
36,000 pounds for Isbjorn, 22,000 pounds for this. That is a huge difference.
Huge difference.
5,700 pounds of ballast in the keel, max draft of 5.2 feet. Although that does not jibe with the listing. I think the listing has a max draft of 6.5 feet. So I wonder if this had a deep draft version or if Sailboat Data is wrong about this, because it's definitely the same boat when you look at the drawing. Anyway, moving along here. First built in 1994. Designer Gilles Vuitton, like we said. We're moving down here to my favorite numbers, the sailboat calculation. Sail area to displacement of 19.6. That's a good number. That's going to be a performance number. I like that. Ballast to displacement 26. That means 26% of the weight of the boat is in the keel. Displacement
That's not so performance-y, I would say.
well, again, it's based on the beam though too, because the
Wouldn't that be different though if the draft is different?
no, because it's simply the ballast to displacement is the ratio of the total weight of the boat, how much weight is in the keel. Okay. It's not a measure of how stiff the boat is.
But it kind of is. I mean, Mia's got a point in that, ballast that is further down will be do more work than ballast that is further up. So if you have a deeper keel, that's going to help on your stability.
It will, but it doesn't change the ballast to displacement ratio. This is simply about weight. It's not about righting moment, which is what you guys are talking about. Righting moment being like how much pressure, how much force does it take to heel the boat. Moving along, displacement to length ratio is 224. That's kind of squarely in the moderate category. Comfort ratio of 24. Capsize screening of 2. Hull speed 7.9. There's our pounds per square inch of immersion we like to talk about, 1,800 pounds. That means how much gear can you load on it before it sinks an inch. And there you have it. Those are the specs. So, August, what would you say these specs tell us about the boat?
I mean, it's a fairly sporty boat. I mean, there's a big sail area, and I think she would be pretty fast, but still, it's not a ton of ballast. Although I am a little, I wonder a little bit about the draft and if these numbers are correct. But yeah, I would say.
Well, remember, this is from Sailboat Data, so we're going to look at the draft of the actual boat we're looking at here, which is 1.5 feet deeper than the specs here. So that's going to make a difference.
Oh yeah, but no, I would say performance cruiser as anything else, right?
Yeah, I think actually this is kind of like squarely in like line with numbers that like this is what I'm looking for. Like for me personally, my taste of boats as it has evolved, this is basically right in line with. I mean, it's pretty similar to Falcon if you look at it that way. Pretty high sail area displacement, pretty moderate displacement versus length. Like this is like squarely in what I would consider an attractive boat for the way I like to sail now. And that's why this is kind of what intrigued me when we were sent this listing. I was like, oh man, I've never heard of this boat, but this is like right in the sweet spot. And I think we're going to find more of that as this goes.
It's also built the same era as Falcon.
Yeah, true. Late 90s. That's a good point, Mia.
Yeah.
Look at this. Okay, so let's see here. We talked a little bit about the design stuff. We don't know much about Gilles Vuitton other than he was a Whitbread designer, which is like awesome, right up my alley. I'm going to move this giant brick of a book off my desk here now to make some more space. All right, Mia, the second category that we go through in our boat shopping is called the dock walk. So the idea of this is we're going to look at the actual listing and we want to talk about just what stands out to you, the pictures of the boat. Imagine this is the context. Imagine you were walking down the dock and you came across this boat. What would stand out to you? And August, let's try to pull up a picture here.
I love that you have this a second because I was like, man, I just hope we can talk about like the first impression because that's what was drawn to me to the boat.
That's exactly it. And that's exactly it. You actually picked this listing for today. You saw this. You're like, oh, this is actually really cool. So what stands out to you, Mia, when you first set eyes on this listing?
What first stood out to me was I really thought it was a cool way of like the cockpit. It has an open transom, really good like swim platform in the back,
awesome
but
swim
also
platform.
like a normal cockpit. You feel like the cockpit is not compromised because of this swim platform, and I really like that.
That's a good point. What else?
That was the first. I think it looks really good. It looks nice in the photos.
It looks so French. It's such a French-looking boat.
but it
Like
looks good.
no,
I like it.
It looks
Like,
fine.
If
It's
I
just,
would sail by it, I would be like, wow, that's a cool boat. What is it?
but it's different. My point is, a lot of these French designs have some weird, like, sort of indefinable quirk about the lines of the boat, and I definitely think this has it. It almost, August, if you scroll down to that picture of the boat at anchor, it almost has a reverse shear line from that angle. And I remember, do you remember Ron sailing, our friends Mia? They had a French aluminum boat that had that inverted shear line where instead of it swooping but it was like an upside down banana almost. And this almost has that. And I think that's almost kind of like whether it's a reverse shear or a lot of the French wooden boats, like the plywood boats, have that hard chines. It's like there's always something odd about French designs, I think.
I also like the kind of, it felt pretty simple when I first looked at it. It wasn't very cluttered with a lot of junk. Felt pretty like, I just thought it was very pleasing to my eye.
I mean, technically pleasing. There's not I don't see 1 square inch of wood on deck. If you go up to that other picture there, that's extremely pleasing to me. August, I think you and I may agree that like there's a lot of stuff in the cockpit. I mean, I see a big bimini, big solar panel arch at the back, a wind generator, a huge TV screen at the helm. That kind of kills the vibe a little bit for me, but I understand the practicalities of it and that most people are going to want that, especially these pictures are taken from BVI where the boat is in the Caribbean. So like it's kind of necessary to have some shade, but I'm out on that stuff visually. What stands out to you, August?
I would say, as for like a dock walk first impression thing, I would say that, I would probably just walk past this boat, I think. I don't think I would. I don't think I would stop to study this boat. It looks very like I guess nothing really stands out to me about this. It's got the. It looks very much like a fairly quick kind of tropical cruising boat with a lot of kind of clutter in the cockpit, and but I think it is a good looking boat. Again, as I've mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of the reverse stern, and this one's got an extreme version, although this one is of the kind of sugar scoop variety with a swim platform that looks very, very nice. I would love to go swimming from that one. That would be cool.
It's interesting how so also I should say, like, just because people send us these listings, you don't have to like this. You can say, I'm going to walk by it because I think it looks ugly. I actually think I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think the only thing that would give me pause if I was literally walking down the dock is I wouldn't have recognized this boat. I would have been like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And there's not a lot of boats that I don't recognize. I'm pretty good. My dad and I used to play this game of like, hey, what kind of boat is that over there? Like, that would be an instance of like, what kind of boat is that over there? I don't know what that is. And then when I find out it's a feeling, I'd be like, I still don't know what that is.
But no, it's...
I do like, I will say, I kind of agree with you on the aesthetics. There's nothing really that stands out other than the kind of Frenchiness of it.
But to me, though, there's nothing that stands out in a bad way, really, except the clutter.
Maybe that's
like,
August's point, that it just doesn't stand out, period.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that gives me any kind of obvious, like, icks, and there's nothing that I really love about at first glance of what this boat is. We got some ports in like along the top sides of the hull. I'm not a fan of that. We've got an aluminum tow rail, which is great with a lot of holes in it for rigging up stuff. That is,
I'm a fan of that.
Really nice. And we have two furlers up front there on the foredeck. That's quite nice.
Well, so that was the one thing that stood out the most to me, that it's not just 2 furlers, but it's got a Solent rig, which means that the inner jib is your smaller upwind sail, but it's almost a Solent as opposed to like a staysail where it's the top of the furler is mounted much higher up on the mast, so you don't need running backstays. and you basically, there you go, there's a good picture. It's mounted higher up on the mast. You don't need running backstays. You have a bigger sail area. If this were a staysail, that inner forestay would be just at the top spreaders there. So you'd have a much smaller staysail, which would be fine for heavy weather. But this is my favorite rig. Mia, you and I sailed both the Saga 43, and I sailed in that Outbound 46. This Solent rig is my favorite rig for versatile sailing, because you've got two usable head sails. You've got your big sort of light air and reaching sail on the bow, and you've got your upwind tacking sail on the Solent rig there. And I really like that rig. So that stood out to me as like, okay, somebody knows what they're doing here. I don't know if that would have been designed like that in the first place. We might have to dive into the listing to find out if that was an add-on later, but I do like that. It doesn't look to be in the drawing there.
Doesn't look to be, no. I'll add that, yeah, I agree. I think that is great. I'd say that it's kind of somewhere in between like a cutter rig and a Solent rig, and that second furler is quite a bit further back than the one at the right up at the bow. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you could like tack the big Genoa on this without furling it up all the way, because it's got quite a lot of space in between them.
You'd struggle to do that. It is more space. I see what you're saying. It's more than usual, but I think this probably was retrofitted because I assume that the anchor windlass is in the way. There's no other place to put that strengthened tack fitting on the bow. Maybe you can find a picture of the bow there, August, if we scroll down here. And I think that's probably why, like on the Saga 43 and on there you go, the windlass and the chain locker, there's nowhere else to put that inner thing. So the Saga had a little bowsprit for the outer jib, and then the Solent was mounted at the bow, at the stem. I forget how the Outbound was, but unless it was designed like that from the factory, usually that's what happened. We retrofitted my dad's Vauquier 38 with a Solent rig. Same thing. We had to put it behind the windlass, so you get a bigger gap there and a smaller Solent jib area than you could otherwise have if it was done kind of from the get-go.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's all good, I think. And yeah, and her name is up there, Long Reach. If the name is that's fine. That's all right.
Not like, oh, cool name, and not like, oh, what a stupid name.
Yeah, it's just it's fine.
There's a great. Do you follow? So James the Sailor Man, he has a separate Instagram account called Neptune's something Neptune, and it's basically just photos of like funny or stupid boat names that he sees around the world. It's really fun.
All right.
Yeah, it's really good. Neptune Psy, maybe. I gotta look that up. Fill some audio here, August.
That's a good name for an Instagram account about good and bad names, I'd say. So if that is the thing. But yeah, no, I'd say like it's a very practical looking boat, right? There's great kind of non-skid decks here, no wood, as you said, anywhere. We got big arched solar panels and a wind generator on top, huge bimini, and a Dodger, and yeah.
So here's
platform's great.
This is it. James the Sailor Man's alter ego, Neptunes _Psy. And the most recent picture is a boat name called Rancho Relaxo. That's pretty good. We have
Back to the thread.
Stay Frosty. That's a pretty good one. We have, let's see, Uranus. Maybe not the nicest choice.
Maybe. Well, if it's the, the planet's quite nice, but yeah.
Lucky Boat. We have, let's see. Some of these are not repeatable on audio here.
Let's move on, Andy.
It's a sexy thing.
It does say explicit audio in our podcast settings. So
ice cream blaster. That's a pretty good one.
What?
Okay, fantastic. I could sit here and look at this all day. This is fun.
Back to.
All right.
I also noticed here that it looks like they are towing a dinghy. not a fan of.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in the listing because the boat comes with a really nice dinghy, but then what do you do with it? That's the biggest problem. I mean, we tend to talk in the context of ocean sailing, but in cruising, most people would like to have a nice dinghy. So,
Yeah.
all right, should we move on to the next category where we can go inside the boat a little bit? I think the summary of that, first impressions, fine, it's fine. Life aboard. So Mia, the idea with this is, what is it actually like to own, use, and live with this boat? So we want to look at the interior layout, berth arrangement, galley practicality, head arrangement, stuff like that. So let's move to the inside. Mia, I noticed you made a comment when you were browsing this before we started recording that you thought it was a quite interesting layout.
Yeah, like the galley is a little bit different than I've seen. It's kind of open in the middle, but it has those kind of V's for counter space and props. But I'm not sure. I feel like if in a big sea, I feel like those V's are shaped to like spit you out, like a little pinball machine.
It's hard
It looks
to
like a
describe
pinball
this.
machine. That's fantastic.
It does, actually does look like a pinball machine. So
Not in a bad way, but like I'm wondering how it is to prop yourself against that. Is it good or is it like more like a slider?
I'm not. So August,
Yeah.
for the audio listeners, please. I've never seen a salon that looks like this. So try to describe what you're seeing here. We're looking aft in the boat, but can you describe what we're seeing here, August?
Yes. So it's a very unique. I have not seen this either. So imagine if you come down the companionway, there is just a short bridge deck, and then there is a steep ladder goes down into the boat, and there's two aft cabins immediately on either side and aft of the companionway. And then just to starboard, there is what looks to be a fairly standard nav station, and then there is a head to port. And then you enter the salon, and you have a galley along the starboard side, which is like a long side galley, which runs along the length of the starboard side of the boat.
So like in lieu of where you'd normally have like a settee berth in a traditional layout, that's where they put the galley.
Yes, to kind of, it would be wide open, but sort of to hem the chef in a little bit. They've created these two triangular things that stick out to give the chef something to lean against, or
pinball flippers
to bounce them around in there like a pinball machine. But it's pretty massive, I would say. It looks pretty large, and with that placement, right, you have a lot of room. But yeah, very very interesting. And then just immediately across from there, that is where the salon table is, and also a kind of a sofa that runs around the table along the port side. Very kind of curved, cushy couch, and then there is, like, in the center line of the boat, that's not where the table is. There is a little cushion, or quite large cushiony thing that you can sit on at the table as well,
like a bench type of thing.
Very
bench
similar to what
type of
Ice Bear
thing.
had.
Yeah, Ice Bear's bench had a backrest. This does not, but same idea.
Yeah. So it's very very interesting. It looks like this would be a great place to eat and hang out, and you've got like great communication between the dining area and
It's like a
and the
modern
kitchen, as you would say.
open apartment style, like the kitchen and the living room are together. It's kind of like got that vibe, but in your boat salon.
Yeah, and it's interesting. What do you think about it, Mia?
I quite like it, especially like if you're living aboard and like having guests. I think it's a great like place to hang and host, because you don't need more like you don't need more sitting space. It looks like you can seat probably 8 people comfortably around there, and probably a few more if you have some spare chairs. So I think it's plenty of space.
You're having
to
big
host.
parties on your live aboard boat,
I
huh,
know.
Mia?
No, but
8 people
and I
plus
do
a couple
think-
more.
And
Huh?
I do like the layout of the galley. Like you're basically standing in one spot and everything is within reach. And I do think that the forward nook there, it's probably a good place to prop yourself when you're cooking. And there is counter space that does not also, that you have like proper counter space that is also not just you have top loaders in space, but also you have counter space that is not top loaders, which is nice. I think it looks like a interesting look, and at times too, it's nice to not have to sleep in a salon because it's plenty of different berths to sleep in.
So I would have changed two things in the galley, because I agree with you, Mia. I think this is an awesome liveaboard down below plan, but I think it's a lousy at sea plan for
Why?
two reasons. Because A, I'm out on the curved settees. Go up to the picture of the settee there, August. Like, yes, awesome place to sit around and socialize, but really lousy place to sleep.
Yeah, but do you need to sleep there? That's the thing. Like when you have enough.
I know you
berth-
have two bunks back aft. You probably don't. So that's, you're not wrong, but less so than that is the galley. Go back to the galley, August. You have what I would have changed if I could describe this again. You got those two pinball flippers kind of on either side, one facing forward, one facing aft, and you kind of enter the galley through the middle of those. I would have eliminated the one on the aft side altogether and made a larger U-shaped galley with a little narrow entranceway into the galley so that you'd have you could lean on both sides. And then I would have moved the sink is outboard. So if you're on starboard tack, that sink is never going to drain. I would have extended the forward pinball flipper and made it square and put the sink in the middle there, closer to the center line, and made a longer kind of nook for the cook to stand in. It wouldn't have worked as well as this works in port, but it would have worked much better offshore, I think, to have that kind of larger U-shaped galley instead of this kind of weird pinball galley. But I will say, like, I do like unique things, and this is really unique. So, like, I'm kind of in on the galley, even though it's maybe not that practical at sea.
I agree with you. I think if you made it one big U instead of the pinball flippers, you would also get a lot more usable space, because now you have these triangular flippers that there's probably a little bit of storage in there, but that's going to be quite small and impractical. It would be better to have that space consolidated.
I mean, there's
I'd
things
say.
that people design things for a reason, and I'm sure that those are triangular because it creates more space in the salon, potentially to pass people going fore and aft. There may not be enough space in that walkway behind that little bench cushion if you had made those square. So, like, I might be talking out of my ass here because I didn't design the boat. And things are usually designed for a reason. So what I just suggested may not have been feasible, but because I think that's why they have those angled in there to create more space between the cushion on the seat and the forward and aft parts of the boat.
But it looks to be a big galley. It looks like you can store a lot of stuff, and that sitting poof that is the kind of
Sitting
sitting
poof.
block in the middle. I remember on Iceberg that was like amazing to have. Like we had so much dry storage in there.
Really good storage, yeah.
And that's
Oh,
right at
yeah.
the galley. So if you feel like you're losing a little bit of maybe space to store stuff in the galley with those triangulars, at least you have a ton of storage in that sitting.
We missed
unless
the-
there's something different in there.
I haven't seen the front part of the boat yet.
Let's move forward. I would say just for I think like the communications here looks really great. Just like kind of moving around the boat, you have very easy access through the middle of the center line here. At least that's what it looks like. And I don't think people will be standing in each other's way too much from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, you got like people can hang out on the settee, they can hang out in the galley, and they can hang out at the nav station, and you're all in the same room, but you're not on top of each other.
Yeah, that's true. I would also say that the incredibly curved sofa here, not only does it make a bad bed, but you also end up with these triangular dead spaces in the corners behind that sofa where it just looks like it's just accumulating a lot of crap. And that's
Junk shelves, yeah.
junk shelves. Yeah, so that's,
We did have a
if you-
little bit of that. Sorry, August.
Yeah, no, it's just like if you want to get as much as you can out of every single cubic centimeter inside a boat, and that doesn't look like great utilization, I think.
I do remember on Iceberg we had a little bit of a curve on her, and it was a lot of space behind to store like food and stuff. So, but it was not square lockers, so you kind of have to like
Yeah.
put in different like bags and stuff in there. But hopefully there's some good storage behind.
Yeah, that might be All right, so moving on then. So this is the forepeak right here.
Pretty standard V-bunk. Storage either
Standard.
side. Is there only one head on the boat?
2.
There is 2 heads.
If you scroll all the way down, you can see the actual layout of the boat. That's kind of what I always want to see the first to kind of get my bearings. There you go.
Oh, there you
Here
go.
we
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, is there another little Pullman berth up
Yeah, I know.
forward?
No, it's double. It's like a bunk
Bunk
bed.
beds. Oh, wow.
That's what I said. Like you have 2 doubles, you have a V bunk, and you have the bunk bed. That's why you don't really need the space to
That-
sleep in the salon.
Man, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have some thoughts on that.
Oh, that's a lot of bunks. So, that is interesting. And yeah, so there is one head just to port down when you come down the companionway. Then you move through the galley and the salon, and then there is just before you end up in the V berth, there is a head to starboard, and then 2 bunks to port. In a separate room, looks like.
Yeah,
Huh,
yeah.
This
Yep.
this is very interesting.
If you go up, you see there. There you go.
Here we
Oh,
go.
wow. Okay, there you go. Up and lower bunks.
Oh, that looks.
So I think that's gonna. Yeah, I'll save these thoughts.
Interesting. There is. They look quite small, and they are quite far forward as well. I don't think they would be great for sleeping.
So this is like, all right. So like, this is my thoughts now. So, and they're basically right before. Go down again. Hang on. Go down. No, not that far. Go back to the bunk beds photo. And then right. Yeah, and the one above that's showing the V berth facing aft. So those bunk beds are like right aft of the V berth. I just think this is like another example of like we're going to get to this category, like who is this boat for? Why do you need, I mean, I guess, was this boat built as a charter boat? Was that its intended? Cuz like why do you need 8 bunks on a 48-foot boat? Like cuz it's not a race boat, cuz there's only 2 single bunks, and those are the bunk beds. Everything else is a double. So like Eastbjorn has 8 bunks, but they're all single bunks. So like, who are we designing this for? Because there's no storage. There's no sail locker in the bow. That forward V bunk goes all the way forward to the chain locker bulkhead. There's nothing forward to that. Like what's going to happen is those bunk beds that you talked about, they're just going to become the garage. So like, why aren't they designed as that in the first place? Like again, begs the question, who is this boat for? If it's for a family that's going to go cruising and have guests around all the time, that's fine. But then where do you put all your stuff? Like, there's not a lot of storage space. Like, definitely one of these cabins is going to be a garage, whether it's one of the aft cabins or this cabin, or probably both if it's just a couple living on board. And I just think that's a weird, like, kind of boat show thing where, oh, hey, I can advertise that this boat has 8 bunks, but like, who the hell's going to sleep 8 people on a boat? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that is true. I guess yeah, I don't know. I was thinking like the do you use like the V berth in at the anchorage, and then these bunks when you're at sea you can kind of jam yourself in, snuggle in there, but they're so far forward they're probably not even comfortable in when you're out in the ocean. So yeah, they are a little weird.
Mia, anything to add to the liveaboard category? Because I want to move on to the broker BS category here, which is maybe my favorite.
I actually kind of like that they have, instead of having dedicated, like these ones would actually be really good sail storage because it's bunks, you have things properly, like you have 2 sections, you can easily fit sails on it. But also like then if you've done a big ocean passage and now you want to be more coastal, you can host friends. You can have friends.
So you
with
like
kids.
the versatility of it. Where I'm saying is, I don't think you're going to end up. Okay, so now where do you put the stuff that's in that cabin when you want to have guests on board?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like you may do like a couple years of offshore sailing, and then when you are more coastal, like you're coming back home to the bay, now you put your sails in your friend's garage, and now you're using as a really. I think it's great to be able to have the bunks.
Too much.
Okay, I I actually do like the setup.
I'm out. I like that. I like the idea of like when we met Gerard Dykstra in his best ever 53. He designed and built that for him and his wife, and there was 2 bunks, and the rest of the boat was like storage for him and set up just for him. I know that's different, but
It's very different.
I
It's
know.
very narrow.
yeah.
So I actually kind of like this layout because it does give you a lot of variety too. If you have kids, the kids can use the bunk beds. You can have the back as a garage. You can have kids can have each cabin. Like it's more options.
All right, let's move on to the next category. Broker BS. What is this listing trying to sell us on? Interestingly enough, last week when we did the 2 boat reviews, the listings were pretty meager. This is actually a pretty robust listing. There's a lot of text in here, and I'm not going to read all of it, but these guys, and I've, again, full disclosure, I'm friends with Ted and Brian who run BVI Yacht Sales, and they are a sponsor. But they're also very good at the broker BS, which is basically describing and putting actually information in here. And this is what we're gonna try to read between the lines on. But they talk about the boat. The Feeling 486 is a proven performance cruiser built by the Curie Shipyard in 1997. Shipyard has long been celebrated for crafting high-quality seaworthy vessels, with the Feeling series earning particular acclaim for blending speed, comfort, and durability in blue water cruisers. So right off the bat, they're trying to sell us this as a blue water cruiser. That's what they're aligning this as. Constructed using traditional hand-laid fiberglass techniques with premium marine polyester resins, woven, roving, and matte, her hull was specially treated to prevent osmosis, ensuring long-term structural integrity. Below decks, the interior is bright and well ventilated, featuring a spacious C-shaped settee to port that comfortably seats 8 or more. There you go, Mia. Opposite is an intuitive and highly functional galley. That I kind of agree with. I'll buy that. Accommodation includes 3 primary cabins, 2 heads, and a versatile bunk cabin ideal for crew, children, or additional storage. She sleeps 8 in comfort with abundant stowage throughout. Acquired by her current owners in 2022, she has benefited from thoughtful upgrades to accommodate an island-hopping lifestyle. And then they go on to kind of describe some of those updates. So, based on that description, that's like their first impression. I'd say they're trying to sell us a live-aboard blue water cruiser. Do you agree with that, August?
Yes, yeah, I would say so, and I mean they're definitely leaning into the fact that like how many people you can cram on it, and also the kind of island hopping lifestyle. So yeah, I would say, say so.
I think they're trying to sell it to a person who wants to go up and down between
we'll
the
get
US.
to save that. We have another category called Who's This For?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so moving along here, what I do like about this is they said right here, it was acquired by our current owners in 2022. It's now 2026, so that was 4 years ago. But they imply that since that current ownership in 2022, she has benefited from thoughtful upgrades to accommodate island. So we can assume that these upgrades they mention, were done in the last 4 years. That's a complete new Raymarine electronics suite. I like that they put the cost in here, $10,000 plus. Aluminum bottom dinghy and Yamaha 15, $8,000. Hull stripped, epoxy barrier coated, anti-fouled, freshly anti-fouled again last year. New shaft seal and cutlass bearing, new propane system with composite tank, new house bank batteries. So that's cool. They do put some years in here. They put some kind of budget items in here, money items in here. But they're still not giving us a lot of information. New house battery bank. Okay, what does that mean?
But I think that comes down further in
Does
the full
it?
details.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's
okay.
kind of what I thought too. And then you have everything in the details.
Okay, and then it says the owners have thoroughly enjoyed exploring the British, U.S., and Spanish Virgin Islands over the past few years aboard Long Reach. With a recent land-based home purchase, they are offering their beloved floating home to the next fortunate owner, ready for new adventures and already located in some of the best cruising grounds in the world. I have to say, I don't think we mentioned this. The asking price of this boat is $65,000, which is awfully low for a 48-foot boat billed as a blue water cruising live-aboard thing. That's I don't know if that's a red flag or not, but that is low.
To me, it's almost surprisingly low.
Surprisingly low.
I think it might be, yes.
Might be what? A red flag?
Yes, I think there is one.
You think there is one, yeah. So okay, so moving, so far, August and Mia, where is your BS meter? How much are they trying to sell us versus what is really going on here?
I think sorry, go ahead, August.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they're definitely right. I mean, it's it's a boat made for tons of people to be bouncing around from island to island. I think like the way that they kind of present what this boat can do and what she does best, I think that's quite accurate. Yeah, of course they do highlight the the great stuff here, right, in the description, and they are listing all the stuff that they have done to the boat, and there's no mention of any issues or potential downsides here that might come later. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely just obviously showing all the best parts of the boat and conveniently ignoring anything else.
I do like that they include a little bit of like background to it, because a lot of times it's just so cut and dry that you don't get any sense for it. It's kind of like that they're saying that the owner is ready to move on to land base, and that's where they're selling it. They bought it in 22. Sometimes you don't even know what have happened to the old owner and all that stuff. So
this is I found a red flag. We have a section called red flags.
I think I know what it is.
What do you think it is?
The engine?
It's got 7,500 hours. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's crazy. I mean, on one hand, maybe it's like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But holy smokes, that's a lot of hours on a small diesel.
Yep, that is
wow.
That is true. Yeah, that was my red flag.
Let's save that. I want to go through this listing a little bit more.
Like back to what I said. I think it's nice that they're including a little bit of kind of information about the boat, not just
the background stuff,
not just the cut and dry, but a little bit of the soul.
The problem with that is that's what sells you on it. That's what helps you overlook some of this stuff potentially, and that's where like the broker BS stuff comes in. So you're right. It's nice to have that, but that's also what makes you attracted to the boat, and that's the kind of stuff you got to be able to see through. Mm-hmm. I think when you're doing this. Yeah. Okay, so a couple things that stand out to me here browsing this listing. Stuff's not that specific. Interesting thing I wanted to hit on, you talked about the batteries. It mentioned at the top the batteries were replaced in 2024. Okay, so they've got 2 Trojan 6-volt. Those are going to be basic lead acid batteries at 225 amp hours. That is a tiny battery bank for a liveaboard boat. Tiny battery bank. Your usable amp hours out of that is only basically 40% of that. So you're looking at what's 40% of 225. That's not a lot of 80 amp hours, maybe 90 amp hours. It's not a lot. Now, that said, it's got 155 watts of solar panels 250 watt solar panels. That's over 300 watts of solar plus a wind generator. So I think the mistake some people make with electrical systems is like, you only need to match your loads and then match the charging sources. So like if your loads don't, if you have more incoming power from solar and wind than you have outgoing power from your stuff, the batteries are only acting as a buffer. So you don't need a huge battery bank. But to me, 225 amp hours is like ridiculously small for a modern liveaboard boat. That's tiny. So that stood out to me. And it seems like a lot of this stuff is maybe original. We get down to sails and rigging. The sails are from 2019. They say good condition. All 2019 sails. That's now 7 years old in the Caribbean. That's, August, we talked last week about how quickly, we looked at that CNC was a freshwater boat, Mia. And, being here in Sweden, it's mostly freshwater in the Baltic, and how things age differently here, where it's a short season in freshwater versus like year-round saltwater, sun, Caribbean stuff ages more. So sails are 7 years old now. Standing rigging was done in, I love this. This is again August. New standing rigging in parentheses 2018. And it's like,
but I think they mean that it was new, not like
I know,
serviced.
but if you don't pay attention to that, you can read it as new standing rigging. Yeah. 2018. I love, this is like a perfect like broker BS category. And Brian, one of the guys involved in BVI Yacht Sales, was a yacht rigger. So like this is a fun little rigger trick. New standing rigging 2018. So like that's, all this stuff, I think what probably is, if we kind of summarize this, being that the boat has been lived aboard in the Caribbean by the previous owners, last 4 years, and has been in the Caribbean for longer than that, I mean, probably due for a refit on like most of this stuff. I would say, which also I think is reflected in the price. $65,000 is not a lot of money for a 48-foot boat.
That's true. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the standing rigging is definitely up for replacement, right? And that engine is that is troublesome. Do you want to talk about the engine now, Andy? Are you ready for that?
No, let's hold that. Let's hold that. So okay, next category. Mia, I'll ask this to you first. These next categories we can go through a little bit quicker. Is the idea with this. So, Mia, what do you think? This boat was built in 1997. What do you think has aged the best about this boat since she was new?
To me, it looks like the interior looks like in a nice shape. It doesn't look, I don't see any like water stains. Obviously, I don't see like too much wear and tear down below. It's hard to see in the photos. True, but like to me, she looks pretty nice like down below that you can...
I will second that and say I actually think that the interior layout has aged the best. As much as I complained about the 8 bunks and no storage, I actually really I just love boats that are unique.
Yeah.
And this has a very unique layout. So I think whether it looks to be in good shape or not is beside the point to me. I just think the design of the interior has aged well to me. I think it's cool. I like it. I've never seen it before. I think that's neat. What about you, August? What's aged the best?
I think probably I think the heads looked really nice. There was not a lot of storage in the boat in general, but lots of storage in the heads. And
fore and aft toilets, you don't see that very often.
True. Yeah, and this nice little seat here, you can sit down and shower, which is fantastic. Yeah, I like the heads. Those are my favorite.
Conversely, Mia, what do you think has aged the worst? What feels the most dated, compromised, or out of style now?
Oh, not just like worn down, but like out of style.
No, what is like stylistically, what has aged the worst in your mind?
I don't know. I mean, I was going to say my initial thought was that the deck looked a little bit worn, but I think that's probably like due to a good scrub or maybe just a fresh paint. But I think, I mean, obviously the engine, I think, is the one that is the most
The engine has literally aged the worst.
Yeah, I mean, it may be still in good shape, but I think that's something, if you buy this boat, you have to take into consideration that should be in your budget within the semi-near future to look into a new one, maybe.
I think what's aged the worst for me is the systems, the electrical stuff. Saying you put new batteries on and they're 6-volt lead acid batteries, we don't do that anymore. Yeah. That's aged the worst, I think. August?
I would say...
Also, that giant TV screen at the helm, I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say... like, just maybe the cockpit is just very unappealing to me. Like the huge pod here. This looks like one of those Scanstrut pods.
Yeah,
the biggest one with all of the instruments right in front of your face.
They've properly hidden the compass way down underneath that. I'm not even sure you'd be able to see that.
Yeah, you would
Who
not
needs
be
a
able
compass
to see that
when you have a TV screen?
Yep, that's right. And you have the little seats here in the cockpit are very, very far inboard, so you're very you're far away from the action and the water and everything that's going on here. And you got that massive bimini up there. It doesn't look like you have a lot of standing headroom, both because the bimini and also because the backstay looks to be so much just right in your face. So yeah, the cockpit's probably my least favorite.
New category. What is the most 1997 about this boat? The year this boat was launched. What is the most 1997 thing about this boat?
To me, I think the way it looks with the swim platform and like kind of the stern is a little bit like 90s.
Yeah, I agree. I will give you that. I agree with that. That's pretty 90s looking. They've come a long way in swim platforms since then.
I love that category, Andy. I think my 19. I mean, the pinball, pinball galley.
Did you guys see the pinball before I said it?
No,
I hadn't seen that. Was that's. I mean, that is now a new coined term, I think, by you, Mia, a pinball galley. So that's up there for me. Also, I would probably say that this the nav station chart table has what looks to be one of these wooden covers that rolls back. It's like laminated wood that you roll back, which I absolutely love, and is also, I think, very 90s.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the pinball galley as the most 1997 thing. Although Mia, yours
I've never
is
seen it before. I like it.
no, I like it too. Yeah, we could also add a special category for this boat. What is the most French thing about this boat? It might also be the pinball galley.
I mean, I just like when people think out of the box a little bit.
Totally, I agree. All right, next category. Here we go, August. What is the biggest red flag?
The biggest red flag that was pretty obvious to me right away, but it's pretty well hidden in the listing. Like you don't see it until you've scrolled kind of all the way down and already maybe fallen in love with the boat. But it is this piece of machinery, which is the main engine. And I think what they said was that it was overhauled at 7,500 hours. But I think the actual engine hours might be more. So they write 2022 professional overhaul by B&G Marine Services at Nanny Key Marina at 7,500 hours. Did I see over 8,000?
Okay, yeah. So it would have been more because that was in 2022.
And that was when the new owners took over.
Yeah, you're right.
The previous owners.
You're right. So it's
Yeah.
even more than that. Wow. Okay.
And I'm not sure. I thought I saw.
Did you guys read all the way down to the damage and disclosure?
Oh, damage.
This might be the literal red flag.
Yeah, that it fell over in Irma.
Oh, shit.
Haven't
It's
you
a
read the
I
list?
can't believe we've buried the lead here so much.
I know.
Holy
Haven't you
crap.
seen that?
No, I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
I
No
read
wonder
that.
it's so cheap.
Yeah.
Okay. During the hurricanes of 2017 in the BVI, the vessel was hauled out at VGYH, placed in a keel pit, and strapped down to sand screws. The vessel was blown over to starboard, and the boat stands damaged the hull in two places, each going through the outer and inner laminate, missing stringers and bulkheads. The damaged areas were quite small and were both easily repaired in the same manner as the hull had been manufactured. The lead keel had some scrapes from the sides of the concrete pit when blown to starboard, all professionally repaired. The previous owner took it upon himself to go ahead and drop the keel to inspect and ensure the structural integrity of the keel stub to make sure there was no structural damage to the keel itself. Though the keel stub did not show any signs of damage, the owner went ahead and took the opportunity to reinforce the inside of the keel stub with heavier layer of laminate.
Which is great.
They reinstalled the keel and had a custom quarter-inch stainless steel washers made for the keel bolts. The vessel was surveyed at the time of purchase by the current owners with no structural issues reported. The rig was completely lost and the pulpit bent beyond repair. Some smaller items such as bent stanchions were repaired and the lifelines were replaced. The previous owner was a metal fabricator by trade and did an amazing job with a new bow pulpit and anchor roller. He also bought a Bavaria of similar size and the rig salvaged and used as a replacement. This rig is a Selden, about 15 years newer than the original and similar size. Interesting. Okay.
I mean, it sounds like they did a good job.
Wow.
I actually missed that section because I saw the word disclosure and I thought that was just like the standard broker language disclosures that they put in there. So there you go. If this is a lesson in how to read a listing, make sure you read the whole listing.
Even the disclosure.
Yeah, especially the disclosure.
True, yeah.
I think it to me sounded like that they did a good job with that.
Well, so this actually changes my attitude a lot about this boat in one way because like somebody else fixed it. If it's properly fixed, if it surveys good, you might be able to get a pretty nice boat for pretty cheap. Like this might be this is the reason the boat's less expensive and like this might actually be a steal.
Could be. It's so hard to tell though because you don't know if this was done properly. And even it says that the vessel has passed a pre-purchase survey with no structural issues reported. But I mean, they're not going to like that's no guarantee that there is no structural issues. Like the keel stub is not going to be, if you get a surveyor for a day to look over your boat, they're not going to find any issues with the keel stub. Like that's so
the bigger worry might be like you might not be able to insure this boat. Like with that history, that my insurance might just be like, yeah, no.
Could be.
You know, that could be an issue. So anyway, okay. So biggest red flag, Mia, for you is the Hurricane. For you, August, is it the engine still, or is it the Hurricane?
No, it's still the engine. I still think.
I mean, at least the engine is something that you can replace.
Yeah,
that is very true. Yes.
No such thing as a cheap boat.
Yeah, I will choose the engine though, even though I agree that the Hurricane stuff is pretty horrific. But I think just so we keep different things. But yeah, I think I'm actually not finding it again now, but I think I saw like 8,500 hours.
Well, you know, I gotta say on the Hurricane stuff, better that they fix it up and use it rather than send it to the scrapyard. Like, good on them for like salvaging. I mean, how many of those Hurricane boats are now just either still sitting where they laid back then or just in a dump somewhere? So like, I think that's pretty cool.
That is very true. And you're right. I mean, it might just be great. It might just be perfect.
Yeah.
It might even be stronger than original, right? So
next category, August, this is kind of along the same lines of biggest red flag is project creep. If you bought this boat, where does the spending spiral start?
Well, again, we got the engine up here conveniently on screen. I think that probably has to go. You could run this until it dies, and the listing said it was 100% key turn ready to go. But this one will probably have to come out at some point, I imagine. I love the fact that there is what looks to be a hand pump from an outboard fuel tank attached to the water separator fuel filter here. Have you ever seen that one before?
I have seen that. Engine? Yeah, to prime when you change filters to prime it, it makes it super easy to prime filters like that. I think that's a great idea.
That's too. I thought that was really great.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that.
Yeah, because you have on most engines you just have that tiny finger pump, and that it takes you hours. So this one was
yeah, I've seen that before. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think for me, probably it starts with the engine. It probably also starts with the batteries and the electrical system. That needs
isn't that kind of
an upgrade.
Connected the time when you replace the engine, you probably also going to do the
charging sources, all
charging
the rest
sources,
of that stuff.
batteries. Yeah. Maybe you need to look at some electrical stuff, and I think that's where the creep.
Standing rigging is 2018. That's probably going to have to be done at some point, relatively soon. But yeah, I think that's the place where the project creep starts. Next category, Mia, I'll start with you on this one. Fantasy or reality? Does this boat fit the dream or the real life of the buyer, of an imaginary buyer?
I think it's seemed to be a great boat. I think it will be great as like these guys have been sailing in the Caribbean. I think it looks to be a really nice boat to start in the Caribbean and see where it can take you. And then maybe if you buy it for this cheap, you're aware of all the potential things and you enjoy it. And then you start replacing things when it's time.
I think, fantasy versus reality. I think it's at $65,000. This is a fantasy.
What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
It's unrealistic that you're going to think you can get a turnkey boat for $65,000.
Yeah, definitely,
and
100%.
That's a fantasy. But if you had a $150,000 budget, you could do a lot of cool stuff to this boat because it's a low purchase price. Yeah. But I think it's a fantasy at $65,000. What about you, August?
Yeah, I think so too. I think you probably could upgrade it quite well with the money spent, and but it's so hard to tell because I mean, there's so many potential cans of worms here that I think, I would probably just put that money into a different boat. I think, but that's also because I'm not quite feeling this boat. If I were to
not feeling the feeling,
I'm not. There you go, zing! I'm not feeling the feeling. I think it would be a bit of a gamble to buy this boat, but one that might definitely.
Aren't they all though?
Off,
they are all gambles, man. They are
True.
all gambles. I mean, so how many of our friends that are professional sailors that have bought boats have been like, man, I thought I knew what I was looking at, and they just end up. I mean, Chris, I'm thinking of Chris and Sophie with that steel boat they bought, ending up in this rabbit hole. Mia, speaking of that, good segue. Who is this boat for?
I mean, I think boat is for a couple who wants to start in the Caribbean and potentially take it further, because it seemed to be like a really cool boat, a very comfortable boat to be cruising around the Caribbean on. And I think it's meant for offshore distance, but that's maybe the time when you have to put more money into it. So I think it's people who want to start the dream.
I actually think this would have been the absolutely perfect boat for if my dad and Adam hadn't bought Kodiak to share. They could have bought this, left it in the Caribbean year round, and this would have been a great boat for because we go down there with kids. You can put a lot of people on. This is the perfect boat for people that want to do a Caribbean vacation but don't want to charter.
I disagree with you. I think it needs to be people who are living on the boat who are handy, because by having the cheap price, I think you're going to have to put in some time and money into it and patience. And I don't think it is the right boat for someone who just wants to go on a vacation where everything works.
Yeah. That's probably right. I say that this design of the boat is probably good for what I said,
okay,
but maybe not this
listing.
specific boat.
But I think for the people who like to work on the boats and like to have a good boat, I think you're gonna have to put in a little bit of patience to this and not expect everything to be 100% perfect at the same all the time.
Who do you think this boat's for, August?
I think this boat is for somebody who wants to start like a booze cruise weekend sail business in the BVIs, where you take 10 backpacking youngsters out to a couple anchorages and sail around and
Broadreach should buy this boat.
dive and something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
would be the perfect Broadreach boat.
you could fill it up with, with young people with low comfort standards and be happy on this boat for like maybe a weekend, or maybe a week, but definitely like a weekend, couple of days, and just bang around and have one professional on board who could keep that engine alive and sail the boat well, I think.
Okay, last question, Mia. Would you buy this boat?
I think this would be a boat that you and me would have bought before we had so many things happening. Like this would be I think it would be a cool boat that we could have bought earlier on. Right now, I think you and me have not enough time to put in the love to it. But
It's a yes or no question.
Today, no.
August, would you buy this boat?
No.
I would also say no, but with a caveat. If I actually think this would be a very cool opportunity. If like I said before, if I had a $150,000 budget and could buy this boat, they just dropped the price $14,000, so that tells you something there. If you could buy this boat for like 55 or 60 and put $100,000 into it, you'd have a freaking sick boat. Or put $50,000 into it and put $50,000 in your pocket. You're gonna have that's a lot of boat to buy. And I don't think this boat is for like a young couple or whatever, because it's too big. And like the cost of ownership of this boat's going to be a lot because it's 48 feet. But if you had a higher budget, you can get I've always said, find an old cheap boat and like spend a lot of money to refit it. Like take this to a boatyard and say, here's $100,000, do all this stuff to it. You're going to end up with a really cool boat. So I wouldn't buy it just because I'm kind of I'm not in love with it. Like you said right off the bat at the top of this episode. That's the only reason I wouldn't buy it. But if I had a $150,000 budget, I would consider buying this and refitting it and making it really cool.
I actually really like I like the layout. I like the difference.
The layout's awesome. Yeah. Just the way it looks at the dock, I'm kind of out on. But I'm pretty particular about that stuff too. Cool.
Who's gonna buy it?
Who's gonna buy it? Yeah, who is gonna buy it? I don't. That's what I said. I would. It's not for me, but I do think I wouldn't say this is a boat not to buy.
No,
I think it's
definitely not.
I think it's pretty cool. But again, to emphasize, there's no such thing as a cheap boat, and the cost of ownership of a boat like this is going to be a lot more than the purchase price reflects, or the asking price. All right, thanks, August. That was fun. Mia, thanks for joining us. This
Thank
is
you.
great. You're going to have to make a regular appearance on here.
Ooh,
This is
yeah.
fun. Did you like it?
I love it. I mean, who doesn't like looking and talking about boats?
Exactly.
And now
That's
the
perfect.
problem is
Yeah.
now I just want to be in the BVI and actually crawl around and look at it. I want to
Yeah.
open these lockers. What does it look like behind there? What does the bilge look like? All that stuff. So I think the hardest part about this is not to actually be able to be on it.
Yeah.
That would be the best if you guys can do. We should find a boat in Sweden and do it live.
We need a higher production budget for that, Mia.
That's true.
True. But yeah, thank you. Great listing. Thank you, Ryan. And yeah, this was a lot of fun.
So let's take a, sorry, Mia, do you want to do the line for us? Until next time.
Hold fast.
Thank you very much for listening, and thanks again to BVI Yacht Sales for sponsoring the show. Find them at bviyachtSales.com. If you want to join the Quarter Deck, go to quarterdeck.59-north.com. The Quarter Deck podcast is produced by August Sandberg for 59 North. Music is by the Storm Weather Shanty Choir.